Here in this remote island called Australia, our internet speeds are terrible. There's something about being thousands of kilometres from the next piece of land that means we don't have any other good internet options. According to speedtest.net, the average download speed in Australia is 40.37 megabits per second, which is just 35% of the download speed of the average speed test done in the United States. Even worse is our upload speed, coming in at a paltry 17.4 megabits per second. Do you want to hear something even worse? My average upload speed is abysmal 1.5 megabits per second tops. This is just 180 kilobytes per second. A 10 gigabyte video takes me 15 hours to upload. You get the idea. So basically, I know a little bit about slow internet, and I have a really simple way for you to improve it. When you browse the web, each page you go to is actually a really small download. So when you go to www.google.com, you're downloading to your computer what is on google.com, and your browser is smart enough to know to display the web page on your screen, as opposed to downloading the entire contents of that site to your downloads folder. It downloads the text on the page, the images, a file describing how all this content's laid out on the page, and potentially some other files which add interactive functionality to this page. Importantly, all of this content and these files are stored on a web server somewhere. Think of this like plugging in a USB flash drive and copying files from it to your computer. When you load a page, you basically want to copy all of these files from the USB flash drive to your computer for your web browser to display. But instead of using a USB flash drive, we're copying off a computer or a web server via the internet that's potentially thousands of kilometers away. But when you hit enter on that URL or click on a link to go to another page, the web server doesn't know straight away that it needs to send you that website. All you've done is type in some text to the address bar. How does the web server know that it should copy the web page to your computer? Well, the first thing your computer needs to do is work out what you're trying to do with the text that you've typed into the address bar of your browser. At the moment, to your computer, this is just a bunch of characters, laid out in the form of something like www.instagram.com. This particular form is what's known as a domain name, and every site you go to has a domain name. So, what your computer needs to do is find what web server corresponds to that particular domain name, and this is where DNS comes in. DNS stands for Domain Name System. Think of it like an address book for all the different domain names across the internet and the web service that each one of these domain names point to. Many companies run domain name systems, and you may have seen domain name system settings pop up in your internet or router settings, but don't worry if you haven't seen these settings. So these settings essentially tell your computer which DNS service to use. Once your computer has worked out which web server the website corresponds to, it then needs to tell the web server it wants to start a connection with it. Going back to our USB flash drive example, this step is kind of like plugging in the flash drive into your computer and then having your computer make a sound telling you that USB has been connected. Finally, now that we have our connection with the web server, we can tell the web server what exact page we want to start downloading. And this is the one that's in that address bar at the top of your browser. The server then gets this request, does any processing that it needs to do, and then sends you back the web page you asked for, including any images or other files. Your browser then receives these files, pieces them all together, and lays them out nicely on your computer screen. When you think about it like this, it's pretty impressive that pages can load in just milliseconds. But you're here because your internet's slow. Your pages aren't loading in milliseconds. If you go to a site like speedtest.net, you'll get two different numbers, a download speed and an upload speed. If you're watching a video streaming site like this, like on YouTube or Netflix, you need to get those videos off of their servers to your computer. Videos are large files, and so to watch a video without it buffering, you need a high enough download speed to be able to transfer the video to your computer faster than it's actually playing back. So in other words, if it takes 2 seconds for 1 second of video to download, you'll either find your playback is incredibly choppy, or you have to buffer for a long time as the video is downloaded. Pretty annoying stuff. Using the video streaming example, if you have a high internet speed, you'll be able to do two different things. Firstly, you can stream higher quality versions of a video. For a standard definition video, Netflix uses about 3 megabits per second, whereas a high definition video uses about 5 megabits per second. If you did an internet speed test and got less than 5 megabits per second as your download speed, you'll probably notice that your streaming videos don't look that great. Secondly, with faster internet, you'll be able to play multiple videos at once. For example, if you've got a download speed of 10 megabits per second or greater, you'll be able to watch 2 HD streams at once. Your upload speed determines how quickly you can do the opposite. So for example, instead of streaming a YouTube video for you to watch, check how quickly you can upload a video back to a site like YouTube. Recall that watching 2 HD streams on YouTube uses 10 megabits per second worth of download capacity, as in 2 times 5 megabits per second per stream. In the same vein, a video upload to a site like YouTube, or if someone's syncing files to Dropbox, can have a similar saturating effect on the upload speed. When uploading to YouTube, for example, your computer will try and complete this upload as fast as possible. If your upload speed is 10 megabits per second, it'll try and use all 10 megabits per second on uploading your video to YouTube's servers. Thinking back to all those steps required in loading one web page, there are actually 3 different times that we need to send information out or upload to the internet in order to receive that web page back to us. These are 1. When we look up the web server using the DNS service, 2. When we create the connection with the web server, and finally when we actually ask the web server to send us the web page that we're after. So, even if you have a decent download speed, you actually need to do some small uploads in order to start that download. If there are other uploads taking up all of your uploading capacity, web pages are going to take a long time to load, even if there is a lot of download capacity. This is simply because the web server doesn't even know what page you want to download, and doesn't even know that you want the page, and so it won't start sending it to you until it gets this request. So, what's the solution? Well, it's upload throttling. This is ensuring that one application or one upload can't take up your whole upload capacity for your entire internet connection, leaving you unable to send those small uploads to tell the web server that you want to download that page. If we limit a particular application or a device's upload speed, everything else will have capacity to load web pages still. There are a few ways of going about this. Firstly, we can either throttle an upload at an application level, for example Dropbox, or we can throttle it at the device level, for example your laptop. Bear in mind the examples I'm about to show you are very specific to my particular situation. They have some general ideas, but you might need to look up how to do this for your particular application or your particular hardware. So the first kind of throttling that we can do is hardware throttling, or on a device level. So in this case I've gone to my Wi-Fi router settings page. If you don't know how to get to this, you'll need to consult the Wi-Fi router that you have. Probably this is from your ISP. And then what we want to do is go down and find something that's similar to the lines of DHCP clients list. So it might be called clients list, it might just be called reservations or something. In this case mine's called DHCP clients list, and it gets a list of all the devices on my network as well as their IP addresses. So in my case I'm looking for this device, Sam's MacBook Pro, and I want to find the assigned IP address to my MacBook Pro because this is the device that I want to throttle. You can see it's 192.168.1.101, so I'm going to copy this and head down to bandwidth control. It might be called something else on your computer, for example, in your router settings, for example, quality of service. We want to go to rules list here. We want to add a new rule. I'm going to pick the IP range. It's just this one IP. I'm going to go from port 1 and I'm going to pick 4,999.9. And then what we want to do is select all the protocols, and then we want to choose egress bandwidth. So this is the amount of upload bandwidth. You can see the description just here, but egress means out, and so bandwidth going out of the computer is essentially upload. We don't want to change the minimum bandwidth at all, but what we do want to do is limit the max bandwidth to be slightly under the maximum bandwidth of our internet speed, so we still leave a little bit of headroom for other uploads and other ones of those small requests that each web page loading makes through upload. So we know my internet speed here is about 1.5 megabits per second, which is 1500 kilobits per second. So let's set this to maybe 1200 kilobits per second maximum, leaving 300 kilobits for any other uploads that need to happen on the network. Once we've done that, all we need to do is hit save, and we've applied this to the device. So the other way we can do it is by throttling the upload on a per application level. So if we head into Dropbox here, which is a common thing that might take up your upload capacity, and we can go over to the network here, and we've got some bandwidth settings. A lot of other applications actually have these settings too, including applications like torrenting clients. And then what we've got is an upload rate here, so we can either choose don't limit, limit automatically, or we can actually set a limit. Note that this is actually in kilobytes per second, not kilobits per second like we were saying before. And so what we want to do is divide this by 8. So 1,000. So basically what we want to do is limit this to 1,000 kilobits per second, which works out to be 125 kilobytes per second. This number is slightly lower than what I set this device, the whole computer's device upload limit to, and this is because I've left a little bit of headroom to actually do web browsing myself without having Dropbox saturate that entire upload capacity. And we just go ahead and hit update, and that's all we need to do. So thanks for watching this Technologetic video on how to increase your internet speed. If you enjoyed this video or got anything out of it, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below with any tips you have around increasing your internet speed.